actually a great analogy for like developing in your life, right? We want like a quick fix. We want to like buy the plant and then like pick the avocados. We want to make fresh guacamole. And a lot of times it's not magic pill. It's not plug and play like that. I was actually going to shift from avocados to Lizzo because I was watching this great
naturally
about Lizzo, and they were saying, oh, you know, what do you think about this success? Like, you know, we've heard it's a long time coming. And she says, you know, she's like, an overnight sensation takes about 10 years.
Yeah.
And she was talking all about like in 2012, she put out her first mixtape. And before that, she was learning to play the flute and singing in choirs. And she was talking about like all this work that went into long before she was ever even being considered by a record label. And I think in the land of personal development, as well as like developing the culture of your team, you can never expect for something to just, okay, I learned how to play the guitar and now I am selling, you know, platinum records. It's a long journey, just like that avocado plant. I mean, if you're going to try to start an avocado from a seed and sprout the seed, you're looking at maybe 6 years from that point until you have a physical avocado. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that long of a process. That's what a great like visual representation though of that. It takes time for things to grow. It takes time for things to bloom and flourish. And you're exactly right. You know, I think we're doing ourselves a disservice in so many ways by expecting immediacy with everything. I mean, even in our book that we're reading for book club here, he talks about that, how we're so much a results driven culture and we focus so much on the results and we want immediate results. We want to see that this, whatever our time, our money, whatever it is that we're investing, we want to get that immediate ROI, that immediate return on investment. And that's, if you want anything of quality, right? Like an avocado, if you want anything of quality to grow, you have to allow the space and time for that to happen and recognize that it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, even when it comes to strategy in businesses nowadays, it seems, or in politics, I'm sure Rob would chime in on that. When it comes to all of that, it's all that short-term now focus and conversation and then, you know, not effectively being prepared for the long-term changes and uncertainties that are just inevitably going to pop up because we can't predict the future. Well, again, if you expect that immediate return or result, there's always going to be, you know, as Sir Isaac Newton taught us in law number 2, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So when you have some sort of immediate return, at some point, it might not be right away, but at some point, there's going to be that energy, that result that's going to come back.
Simple solutions to complex problems aren't usually accurate either. So if you're in a business and you're looking for a simple solution and your team's off and your culture's off, doing one thing in the short term is not going to fix it. You got to get gooey and you got to get into the muck and you got to figure out things like, okay, maybe that simple solution is part of the solution, but there needs to be 4 or 5 or 9 other factors that can help resurrect your culture or fix your profitability or your productivity.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes that progress actually looks like a big mess first. I mean, let's just say you were going to change an operating system that you use. So in the end, that new operating system is going to save all kinds of time. It's going to, you know, be the greatest thing since sliced bread. But in order to change over, there's a big mess that kind of has to happen. Like all the files got to get dumped out. All these things got to get changed. Oh, and by the way, we have to upgrade the, you know, the systems that we're on, like the physical hardware. So it's like, when you look at it from first glance, it's like it's moving backwards. You have to like blow everything up and then rebuild it. But that doesn't mean that the solution is not a good one or a necessary one. It just isn't always the cleanest or the most convenient. And let's face it, there's never a great time to make a huge mess. Like there's not. When are you ever going to be like, you know what? This time is really, we've got nothing else going on. So let's just make the mess now. No, it's you're never going to feel like that because there's always something. But if you're always playing into that catch up and you're never actually improving that team or improving the process, how is that going to happen?
Right. Well, or you're going to be left behind if you're not investing the time and the money and the resources to prepare, even if you're not making the change right now, but to prepare for what inevitably is going to happen down the road. It's going to be a lot more painful and a lot more messy when all of a sudden it's thrust at your door. You know, it's the whole idea of maintaining your car. Yeah,
like the old system completely crashes and nothing turns on. Yeah, that's usually when people are thinking, oh, we got to make a change.
Yep. And then it becomes, and then often you make shortcuts, and often then it just keeps kicking the can down the road. It's like getting your AC checked or your car checked. You get it checked so that way, like we are here now, where it's in the triple digits in Arizona. All of a sudden one day your air just stops working, and then it's a big problem. Like they've even said right now, the AC companies are like, we're probably not going to be able to come out today because we're short staffed and everybody's having problems because people haven't been maintaining their ACs. And guess what? You're going to have to replace this AC probably. So that's going to be $12,000. So do the maintenance. So do the preparation, do those checks,
Yeah,
and have the people come out and keep retooling and keep adjusting. So
and don't forget about changing the filter. The filter is really important. I know it seems like a super exciting thing, like Friday night, let's go to happy hour, let's go dancing, let's change the filter.
Yes, you got to keep it clean. You got to keep that air flowing smoothly so that way it doesn't get jammed up later on.
And you got to do the work. Everybody wants the shortcut to avoid doing the work. There's the only way. I mean, Lizzo didn't just, all right, I just put out my first song and it became a huge hit, right? Like Sierra said, she was going to the choir, working on her voice, working on her range, writing songs, learning how to play the flute to put in the song, but figuring out, okay, this is a good radio song because it needs to be this way and structured this way. She did the work. Mm-hmm. Just like growing an avocado tree. You got to do the work. You got to water that thing all the time. That thing needs a lot of water. Right. So you got to do the work. Your culture at your office, it requires work, and you got to do the work. You can't just show up one day, culture's fixed. Nope.
Right.
Culture is very hard to maintain in and of itself. So you have to work really hard to maintain. If you have a good one, you got to work extra hard to keep it solid.
That's a great example with the avocado and Lizzo. You know what? That's a great one. What do avocados and Lizzo have in common? They take about 6 years to develop. And so there's never, it's always the Tony Robbins quote, when would now be a good time for you? There's never the right, perfect time to invest in developing the excellence of the people within an organization, and to try to necessarily, wait until things settle down, or wait until there's a change, the economy is different, or wait until, we can get all back to the office. All those things are just further delaying and further adding dust to the filter that you haven't changed, right? So that eventually it's going to just lock up and be like, I don't work anymore. So there's never the right time. The right time is always as soon as you can.
If you're in an office, for example, you got culture problems, what do you do?
So I would say that if they wanted to take a first step, the first step is having a conversation with your organization to explore, get from them their feedback on where they think they're struggling, where they think that there might be opportunities to improve. And then from there, seek out an organization that you can partner with that can help you develop your people to be excellent communicators, excellent team members, and to be able to show up strong, capable, resilient, agile, and flexible in this world that is constantly peppering you with surprises and uncertainties. As much as we like to say that certainty is what makes us all feel great, the reality is the world is uncertain. We cannot predict what's going to
Well,
happen.
and what we have seen here at Painted Porch Strategies is we have seen that a lot of times when it is your organization, it is actually really hard to figure out like what the problem really is. It's like you might know that it's a problem, but you might not be able to really see it in that zoomed out lens. So one
Mhm.
of the things that we do, the three of us here at Painted Porch Strategies, is we come in as another group of people that we're not in your team, so we don't have that like the blinders, and we look at everything and we see like, okay, what are some of your priorities, what is not happening, and then we look to see where that really is, and not in a quick fix, hey, let's just change the filter, let's just upgrade your Sears unit. Is let's actually get into, is there a clog in the ductwork? Is there a problem with the way that this was installed? Is the machinery just not talking to the thermostat? And sometimes it just takes another person to be able to see this. And I will say the person on our team who does that the best is that girl right there, Amy Akowski. She is incredible at looking at an organization or a team within an organization and really zeroing in on what needs to be done. Not just the quick stuff, but the hard stuff.
And what Amy has found out through her experience is business breakdowns, culture breakdowns happen for really three reasons: a lack of mindfulness, poor communication, and terrible teamwork or mediocre teamwork. So that's why Painted Porch Strategies is a stoically based company to really focus on what we as individuals can control and what we can't, and then really try to hone in on what we can control and handle that. Because when individuals handle what they can control, they're more likely to gel together as a team, communicate more effectively, and be more mindful of each other. Mm-hmm. That other people have different ideas and opinions, and just because it's different from mine doesn't mean I should shoot down Amy's idea or Sierra's idea automatically. Right. So part of that is listening. So I think that your in-depth research that you did in these companies, right? And I like to say like digging in the muck, because that's where the truth is. Like there's surface level, but once you dig down in there, that's where you find all the good stuff. Amy loves to dig, and Sierra and I like to say that Amy's always like 4 or 5 or 8 steps ahead, because she's.
Well, I do have my mug here that says professional overthinker. So it's one of my superpowers. But it's something that I definitely enjoy, and as Rob said, I have experienced over 15 years of either working in or helping organizations to implement changes in their company, and seeing where there's opportunities to just make it that much stronger and much more solid. As Rob mentioned, we have 3 core principles or foundational components that we believe help create the strength of any organization. And we consider them foundational because they really are the base or the platform where growth, change, and excellence can thrive. And that's that self-awareness, that mindfulness. How are you showing up? How are you able to manage stress? And, we hear a lot about overwhelm or the demands of the day and the uncertainties that are going to happen within each day. How do you work together as a team? How do you challenge each other effectively and have healthy conflict and disagreement? How do you collectively work together to lift each other up, to help highlight and support one another's strengths, as well as be a support for them in their struggles? And then how do you effectively communicate with one another? What ideas are you sharing? How are you sharing them? How are you getting those across? So that way you can influence, be clear, be confident in how you're moving and preparing for change within your organization.
Because I think the other part too about the avocado tree is when you actually do the work, you water the plant, it's sustenance. You can eat and survive off of that tree for a long time. Same thing with your company. If you water the culture, it grows so that it takes care of itself with the tools that Painted Porch Strategies teaches your staff.
I will just say the moral of the story here is that if you were listening to all this talk about like avocados and Lizzo and the time it takes to change a culture or to invoke change that is worth having or doing, it's a process. If any of this stuff we're saying has like gotten you in the gut, if you're like, ugh, if you feel at all sparky or sparked or triggered by any of this, it might mean that you need our help. So what you do is you give us a call or you get on our website and give us a ring, paintedporchstrategies.com, and let's start a conversation. Let's see where you're at. Let's see if you feel sparked and triggered. That means it's important for you to pay attention to it. So let's talk about it. Amy Yakowski will come up with a plan for you, and Rob and I, we will just go along with that plan. I'll be perfectly honest. He's the mastermind. We just say, what crazy idea are we going with? But we are here to help you. We've seen this. We've done it. We've been a part of cultures that didn't work. We've been a part of changing cultures, and I know that we could help you.
Well said. Thank you, Sierra. So hopefully we hope to talk to you soon on the Painted Porch or paintedporchstrategies.com.